everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. I'm your co-host, London Beth, and I'm joined today by our baseball analyst, White Sox season ticket holder, and our other co-host, Tony Cepeda. Listen, Tony, we finally did it. We took over. It was like the fall of Rome. Nick, our host, he decided on a Friday afternoon to do his patriotic Chicago resident duty by go to a Chicago Cubs game. And guess what? We slighted him. We took over the podcast. It's ours now. We did everything we could. It took a little while, but I mean, we took over.
Yeah, I mean, the last straw for me was him tweeting out that picture with ketchup on his hot dog. So once I saw that, I was like, all right, we're Trojan horsing this. We're getting in. Yeah, go have fun at the Cubs game. We got it. Don't worry. All the passwords are going to be changed. Yeah, I'm happy we finally did it.
Yeah, so am I. And speaking of optimism, and just optimism around Chicago in general, not putting ketchup on hot dogs. Make sure you put mustard on there. But speaking of optimism in the 21st century, Tony, I know you and I were talking right before we got on here, and honestly, for the first time in our lives in the 21st century, the Chicago Bears should and do have a more optimistic view on their quarterback room than the Green Bay Packers. Now, I know since we've been alive, it's been, Brett Favre going into Aaron Rodgers, going into, now they drafted Jordan Love, traded up to draft Jordan Love. And we're all sitting there going, last year after the draft, I'm like, oh man, it's going to be the next one. You know what I mean? And as a Chicago Bears fan, what was it? Rex Grossman going into Kyle Orton, going into Jason Campbell, going into Jay Cutler, going into Mitchell Trubisky, going back into Nick Foles, going back into somebody else, and so on and so forth. It's just a never-ending cycle. But after the draft last week, the Chicago Bears drafted the quarterback out of Ohio State, Justin Fields, and all of a sudden, we just have a revitalized energy. So, Tony, take me into what you're feeling about the optimism of the Chicago Bears quarterback room, and talk to me a little bit about, the kind of sadness that's going on with the Green Bay Packers. Because honestly, if Aaron Rodgers holds out, and I know you're going to talk about this very, very in depth, Jordan Love is the only quarterback on their roster if Aaron Rodgers either gets traded or holds out. So, Tony, take me into a little bit of the optimism.
Yeah, so I start with the Bears, of course, because this is a Bears podcast. I'm just happy that it is someone that I think we've talked about it before, just someone that's a winner. Just not that, Mitch, he won at UNC, but he also only played 13 games and he didn't, go to the college football playoff. This is a guy that has been to the college football playoff. This guy that just knows how to win. He like those big stages against real opponent like Alabama. Obviously, they lost this past year. No one was beating Alabama with their, full team of draft picks. That just was unfair. But he proved he could hang around with, Clemson. He went against the alleged number one quarterback. Trevor Lawrence outdueled him. So overall, there's really no you can nitpick a little on his tape or whatever it is. There's really no reason to not be happy, not be excited for this guy. And that's just something that, as a Bears fan, that never happens. Jason Campbell, you knew what you were getting. Mitch Trubisky, you just weren't sure. You thought he probably would, and there's Patrick Mahomes and there's all these other options. So overall, just kind of, it almost feels like we're sure, even though anything could happen. And I think that's where my optimism comes. And the other place my optimism comes from is the fact that Jordan Love is going to be the only quarterback left on the Packers depth chart, because Aaron Rodgers every day keeps coming out like a dog getting a treat. Every time I read a tweet about Aaron Rodgers being unhappy, my tail's wagging. I'm just excited to get the boogeyman out from under the bed, send him to some other kid's house. I don't care, out to Vegas, fine. But I'm just so happy. I know they're talking to Blake Bortles. There were a couple other guys they're thinking about bringing in to compete with Jordan Love. I don't know. That's a very Bears thing to do, and it's funny being on the other side of it.
Yeah. Exactly what you hit on there, Tony. It's funny to finally be on the other side of it. Okay. I saw a tweet actually, and it actually made me kind of laugh. And it actually made me more optimistic about the Bears quarterback room. It was all of the quarterbacks, the first four quarterbacks taken. It was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Field, they're all holding up their jerseys right when they got drafted, like when they got to their prospective, team like press conference. All of them are smiling except for Justin Fields. He's just straight faced, no smile, ready to get to work. He's told Matt Nagy when he got to Hallis Hall that he's going to live in their gym. And it's just honestly something that you kind of like to hear. And honestly, I know you agree with me because we've been through this rabbit hole of Chicago Bears quarterbacks since we were born. It feels good. It feels good. And honestly, I live about 30 minutes away from Green Bay, and I'm exactly on the same boat with you. When they started talking about bringing in Blake Bortles and other quarterbacks like that to compete with Jordan Love because Aaron Rodgers might be out, I can first smell the city of Green Bay burning 30 minutes away. And also, it's just like I'm a little dog. And it's just like I'm on Twitter and it's just tail going like this. If Angel the office dog was in here, she'd probably be wagging her tail and we'd show you how it goes. And it's so exciting. Andy Dalton is going to be the starting quarterback. That came out and said it. Matt Nagy was on the herd yesterday and talked about that a little bit. And he said, listen, our quarterback room we called Andy Dalton before the draft started and said, if a quarterback's available, we're going to take him. Okay. And then after the draft, the first night, they called Andy Dalton and discussed with him why they took Justin Fields and that he would still be the QB. That's exactly what, as Matt Nagy would, honestly, as Matt Nagy said it, and honestly, I kind of think he was taking a shot at Green Bay. He said that was the grown man talk and the way you need to discuss with grown men. I think that was kind of a jab at Green Bay. I loved it. I was eating it up and I was super excited about it. And I was like, heck yeah, Matt Nagy, like Matt LaFleur, oh, screw you, take one. And that was really awesome because that's something that the Green Bay Packers did not do last year when they selected Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers had no idea what was going on. They traded up for his replacement, while the Chicago Bears are kind of doing the right thing. And that's usually never a thing the Chicago Bears like to do, especially with the most important position in the NFL, which is the quarterback. So, there's a lot of optimism. I'm excited about it. It's great to see Matt Nagy, going on things like, Fox Sports, The Herd, and, saying kind of stuff like that and just kind of building that, excitement, but also showing that, hey, we're grown men. Andy Dalton's going to be in there until, everybody around feels that it's Justin Fields' time. And we don't have to rush this. And that's something that I'm so excited about. I think Mitch Trubisky, under the Jordan Fox regime, I think he was kind of rushed into it. And that just kind of hurt his entire career going forward with what was going on there. But, just everything like that, optimism, excitement for the first time ever in my life. We probably have a better quarterback room if Aaron Rodgers, the boogeyman, leaves than the Green Bay Packers. And I'm not worried about, Kirk Cousins. I'm also really not worried about Jared Goff.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be less worried about Jared Goff. I love Jared Goff. I think he's just a good person in general, but especially on the Lions, like Matt Stafford is a very good quarterback, but even he couldn't do anything on the Lions. That really would scare me. Yeah, Kirk Cousins he's a child. I don't even know how. I guess he's not. I don't know. I don't know how to describe him. I just couldn't be less scared. He's a pillow. I just don't care. It's not going to hurt me. It is what it is. So that's yes. We're happy. I'm happy. I will say it does feel. You mentioned like the Bears just kind of did everything right, especially the overall draft. Just kind of everything since really the draft. They just handled everything perfectly, and it's kind of like, am I dreaming? Should I pinch myself? You're just waiting for that other shoe to drop because it always does. Like that lead against the Packers, the first, Matt Nagy game, you're like, we're the best team ever. Boom, we blow it. Other shoe drop. I don't know if I'm nervous. I don't know if I should be. Maybe it's just a full culture shift. Maybe we've transferred to the Packers. That'd be cool. And overall, I don't know. I'll just ignore it. I don't think that shoe will drop ever. I'm just gonna be happy until I don't have a reason to be.
Yeah, and that's great. So, Tony, before we wrap this up, let's do something kind of fun. What do we think? When do we think? I apologize. When do we think Justin Fields will take the field as the starting quarterback? What week are we predicting? I'll go first. So, I honestly do really like the idea of Andy Dalton starting. Okay, now that we have a great young QB behind him, the most accurate QB to come out of college since Drew Brees out of Purdue. Okay, which I think is the most important thing. You can have the biggest arm like Jay Cutler. You can't put it on a rope for a 10-yard slant. You're gonna lose games. So a lot of people have been saying, he should be a week one starter, week one starter. You'll see it in OTAs and preseason. I don't think so. Even though this guy is, I guess, the smartest human being to like ever play in the NFL, from the Wonderlic scores and stuff like that, which honestly scares me a little bit to the point of where it's like it's almost too good to be true. I still don't think he should start week one. I am going to go with looking through our schedule. We do have a very tough schedule, coming up this season. I think we have one of the toughest schedules like in the NFL, like top 3 or top 4. So I don't think we should like force him into a bad situation like Matt Nagy talked about. So I'm going to go week 11. Okay. Week 11 of this coming season. And it's going to be, I'm hoping it'll be somewhere around where our bye is. He's going to come in and start, and they're going to see what he is. I know between the middle to the back half of our schedule, I'm pretty sure we're going to have we usually, are playing like the Detroit Lions around that time. I think that would be a great first start for him, is like the Detroit Lions or somebody like that. I think that would be a great first start for him, but I'm going to go week 11. Tony, what do you think?
I will say we should revisit this when the schedule drops, and then we can kind of get a real exact date. Because if it starts off, like a really hard schedule, like obviously they'll probably let Andy Dalton take all the hits. I think in a vacuum, in a perfect world, I think you're right, and that's what should happen. I do think maybe they'll start off a little hot. Andy Dalton, win a couple of games. As soon as they lose a game, man, as soon as, a couple interceptions, the boo birds are going to be out. There's going to be fans in the stands. And I think it's going to kind of, like, that's what happened with Mitch, when in the John Fox era. People were just like, please, just take out Mike Glennon. Anything but Mike Glennon. So I wouldn't be surprised. People are dying for a good quarterback. And, Nagy and Pace are clearly trying to, salvage what's left of their dignity, their reputation in Chicago. I think I don't know if it'll necessarily be too early, but I do think it would be, again, I do want to see the schedule, but I'm going to go week 5. That's my take, because I think it's going to be the first 3 weeks going to be okay, a little rusty. Week 4, I think is going to be bad. I can see it be, or Andy Dalton at the very least is going to be bad. And then week 5 he'll maybe come in at the end of week 4. Week 5 will be his first start.
Well, there you guys have it. I'm saying after week 10 or 11, and Tony's doing the classic. Well, the boos are going to come out. Chicago, Soldier Field is going to erupt, and they're going to have to force Justin Fields into it around week 5. So there you have it. Those are our predictions. We'll probably do it again once the schedule officially comes out. I think we probably won't be off of what we're already thinking about now. So, Tony, thank you for, taking over. We dominated Rome. I think we can continue to do this. We changed everything. It's ours now. Nick is at the Chicago Cubs game and doesn't even know that we took over. So I'm super excited about it. Everybody, thank you again for joining us. Again, we're Just Another Year Chicago. I'm London Beth. That's Tony Sapita. And we hope to see you next week.